Are you good?
Yes, sir.
We're good here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Today is Wednesday, July the 21st, 2021. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of Commissioners Court of Grimes County, Texas will be held on this day at this time, which is 9 a.m. in the Grimes County Annex at 114 West Buffington Avenue in Anderson, Texas. We're going to open the meeting this morning with our invocation. We'll ask our brother Charles Tompkins if he will lead us in prayer. And then if everybody would stand for the prayer, remain standing for the pledges to the U.S. and the Texas flag. And you are looking good today.
Thank you. I'm not only here as Pastor Salem, Master Bill, but we're also here to represent the Grimes County Ministers Fellowship. And we thank you for what you are doing in this county. Shall we pray? Father God, we come, first of all, thanking you for this day. This truly is a day that you have made. We're rejoicing, we're glad in it. And Father, we ask in your presence now to preside over this meeting. We thank you for the judge, we thank you for the commissioners, we thank you for all of those who play a part of this court. And Father, we pray that all issues will be resolved according to your word. We pray for the budget that will be presented before, Father, that everything that is needed will be done. So we thank you. We pray for the protection that you have given us, not only through the law officials, but from the courts of heaven. And we give you honor and glory in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Be seated, please. We'll now go to agenda item number 2, which are public comments. We look forward to hearing from our citizens of Grimes County. I do have 4 submissions that have been submitted this morning for public comments. We would ask that the presenters limit their comments to 2 minutes if at all possible. Also have the understanding we can hear your comments, but we are advised not to respond to those comments. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just take these in alphabetical order. Charlie Abraham, you want to speak on feasibility study on county-wide permitting, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. Yes, my name's Charlie Abraham. I do construction, residential, commercials, a little bit. I've worked with most of the guys in this room. So, yes, this was brought to my attention a couple weeks ago, and I was just wanting to speak out against it. I have done the TDLR registrations years past when they used to do that. It was we paid a lot of money and we really didn't have any felt benefits of it. In this case, I've worked with almost every commercial contractor in this room, so I'm not about subpar construction. I'd like to see construction, the levels at which we hope people increase, but the state is already doing some of these things. They already have this stuff licensed through TDLR. So what it ends up being, I think, is what we're going to end up seeing is people are going to end up feeling higher costs in construction again, which we already have increased costs at this point in time, with not a lot of benefit behind it because there's already things in place for this. The second part of this will be their taxes increased because I feel like the county is going to have to man this with 3 to 5 people from the research I've done and the people I've talked to. It would take people that are going to do inspections out in the county in rural areas, and you're going to have enforcement set up. And so at the end of the day, the amount of revenue that's going to be received by the county, I don't believe will offset the cost to the customer at the end. I feel that they'll have to increase taxes. The budget will be increased every year to offset the positions that it will take. And then the last part of this is the need. I haven't heard, I've talked to a lot of people since this was brought to my attention, because the first thought was to find out, well, are people having issues right now out in the rural areas? And I haven't I haven't received anything from the community members that I've talked to in the rural areas. So I would like to know where this need comes from before we put together a feasibility study, which if we go looking for trouble, we're gonna find it, I'm sure. But I'd like to know where the need arises from this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Next will be Mr. Kevin Clark, and he is going to agenda items, speak on permitting also. Good morning.
Good morning.
I agree with Charlie about TDLR, but we do have state laws, but we also have the county government does, Texas government code allows the county to do permitting, and I've studied some counties that do it. You would not have to hire any staff. You can put this, like McLennan County does, on the builder, on the contractor to hire a third-party inspector to do all the inspections and turn those inspection reports into the county to make sure everything's done to code. This is an example of some stuff I found recently that was in the wall of a house in Grimes County, in Beat Eyes, feeding a panel. No conduit, no tape. That black on that wire is discoloration from heat. That could have very easily caused a fire and burned that house down and killed people. I see on Facebook every day people asking for electricians, for plumbers, for HVAC guys, and there's comments on there from unlicensed people, yeah, we'll do it, we'll do it. You don't need to get into that. I mean, that's what we end up with. You know, your fire services, I'm sure, we haven't done investigations to see what causes these fires, but I'll bet a bunch of them are caused by stuff just like that. But I mean, I've done the research, and I think we can do this in a way that doesn't cost the county, but it improves the buildings and the things we have in the county. And it improves the safety of the consumer. So I don't see a problem with it.
Hold on, that's about $25 worth of copper there.
Yeah, right now.
Thank you.
Oh, that's another one right there. That's a lovely little piece of electrical work.
Mr. Paul Holder from Mr. Chill Heating and Air Conditioning Incorporated, licensing and so forth. Good morning.
Yes, I live here, I do a lot of work here, my office is not here. But just like Kevin, I see people on all these social medias asking for referrals for air conditioning work. And there's a ton of people out there that don't have a license. They're doing maintenance for apartments and stuff around here, and they're running a business on the side, fixing air conditioners. And, you know, I don't even know if they're EPA certified to handle refrigerant. But I run into a lot of things out here where somebody had a friend trying to fix it and all that, and then they end up calling us out, and it's just a mess. You know, we need to figure out a way to stop that if we can, because somebody's gonna burn a house down.
Thank you, sir. I then have Mr. Johnny McNally. I know you're not a contractor, you're an executive director for the chamber.
Yes, with the Chamber of Commerce, and I am here to talk on the same topic. So what's proposed is a feasibility study, and I think that'd be prudent upon you to go into the feasibility study and consider the things that Mr. Abraham and Mr. Clark have said. This is not the time to make the decision, but it'll be prudent upon you to go ahead and look at this topic a little closer. And I think that's what Mr. Cox is, Commissioner Cox is putting forth today. I think it's paramount from your position as county commissioners to look at public safety. And I think this is a public safety issue. And y'all can determine once the committee meets whether or not it warrants further movement or not. But I would encourage you to go ahead and take a look at it a little closer and then make your decision after you've had a chance to weigh all the issues.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you for your comments. Madam County Clerk, are those the public comments that you're aware of?
Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioners? I do have a reminder. I was asked by the commissioners, this specifically for you and elected officials that are tuned in, that on August the 7th, 2021, and the location is going to be at the new Justice Center at 10 a.m. That's going to be a Saturday morning, where the Masons are going to be having their ceremony of placing the cornerstone next to the Grimes County Jail at the Justice Center, and they're looking for a head count. Do any of y'all know if your schedules are permitting y'all to attend?
I'll be there.
Commissioner?
I'll be there.
Okay, so at least 4. And if there are any elected officials in the audience during the course of the day this week, if you will let me know, because they're providing a lunch and they want to make sure they have enough food for everybody. So again, that's 10 a.m., August the 7th, at the Justice and Business Center, and that will be where the Masons will be having their ceremony. And lunch is being provided by Orphan's Friend Lodge number 17 out of Anderson, Texas. Anything else? With that, we will move to consent agenda item number, and our speakers, you're more than entitled to stay. Everybody's entitled to stay through the entire meeting. If your schedule requires you to leave, we will not be offended. Consent agenda items number 3, consider and take action to approve the treasurer's list of claims and bills. Agenda item number 4, consider and take action to approve payroll. Agenda item number 5, consider and take action to approve budget amendments and/or line item transfers. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of them at least, and that is it. Am I wrong?
Oh, we do we do road and bridge in this also, or?
Are you talking about the road and bridge report? Well, he submits it, and
Okay. Then he comes.
he comes when he does his others, yes, ma'am. Are there any comments or questions? If not, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda items 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on consent agenda items number 3, 4, and 5 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will go to agenda item number 6, Grimes County Building Maintenance Manager, Al Peeler, number 6. Update on ongoing projects, the Grimes County Jail, Grimes County Justice Center. Al Peeler? Al Peeler.
He's coming.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad you're back, because when I updated and the 2 commissioners updated in your absence, I feel like we did a fairly pitiful job, so.
I don't claim to be the end-all, be-all, but, so we'll start with the Justice Center. The Justice Center's new, date, the hot topic yesterday. The substantial completion date right now, unless we get, more water, and I got a lot of contractors in here today knowing that water is terrible out of the sky, it slows us down, is September 17th. That's what's forecasted
Awesome.
right now, okay? But with that being said, we have a total of 149 days that's been since this project has started. Today is the 21st of July, and we've had 10 rain days already this month. So we need a dry period. They're working great. Tile has started, tiling and flooring has started. Ceiling is being installed. Everything's going accordingly. that it can back on schedule. We're laying 220 yards of concrete tomorrow morning at 2 o'clock, if anybody would like to join us. No? Okay. Besides that, it's going well. We, the one thing I do want to state is if you have no reason or you haven't come to me, stay out of there. I've had elected officials, I've had just county employees just be wandering around the building. And Collier has made a point to say now that if it hasn't been approved and they find us in, they're just gonna shut the work site down and charge us for that day. We gotta stay out of there. We have to. We're in the middle of flooring. We're in the middle of ceiling. It's hazardous. It's a construction area. We'll see it when the time comes. Okay? We just need to stay out of there because it's gonna delay us and it's gonna cost us. And we just need to stay out of it. Besides that, PMPs, really nothing has changed. Since the last update, nothing has changed. Now you'll see some flex there. I'm sorting through about 10 change orders right now, but a lot of them will get denied. So we did Keene schedule on Tuesday or Monday, and the building is now keyed to specific areas how we need it to be keyed. That was almost an all-day meeting because there's a lot of keys in this building. And you need keys for emergency. I know everybody says we have card readers. Yes, card readers, but if something goes down, I need the key. Or my people. The county's employees need the keys. So besides that, everything's going accordingly if we can just get some dry weather. Yes, ma'am?
On your project modifications,
Mhm.
what is the acronym HW revisions?
Hardware revisions. Door hardware.
Okay.
That's, and I can explain that if you'd like.
Please.
So as we went in there, the architect drew it out. The architect doesn't know how the building works. He can give us a general, but some of the hardware that they had in the drawings, like the judge's secured hallway, when they walked in, that door would be shut, but anybody could walk up and open it and walk in behind the judge. Well, just knowing that's gonna be a no. So I caught that. That changes the whole door frame and everything. The wiring and stuff like that. Does that make sense to you?
It does. And the one below it, PR 0008.
PR was it was a wall, some changing of electrical outlets that were not in the original drawings that they needed. Like crime victims needed a plug-in for a refrigerator for their victims, so when they were in court all day, they wouldn't have to leave the area that was designated for them. The wall was for district clerk to separate an area for 2 offices that they planned on cubicles. The other electrical was there was no electrical outlet in the evidence room, and this goes back to an architect not knowing what needs to be in there. And quite honestly, I didn't think of it either, but then the district attorney said, no, we need a refrigerator in there because of samples of blood and whatever. It needs to be chilled. So that had to be added on.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to reiterate what you said about the tours at the new justice facility. I've spoken with the job superintendent out there, and he's serious. If people go out there, employees or the public, he will shut that job site down, and then our substantial completion date will become September 18th. And he will close the job down. It affects his insurance. Hazards out there that, while it may not be apparent, there are hazards on that job site that can get people hurt if they're not aware of them. So I would just ask any elected official or department head or member of the public not to go to the job site right now.
Absolutely.
On that note, Cherie, will you send an email to all employees, on my behalf, that they are not allowed on the job site, in the job site, without project manager position or permission ahead of time? Okay, thank you.
So all in all, it's coming along. We're moving right along. It's going faster than I thought with that many rain days.
Do you think the completion date is pie in the sky, or do you think it's real for now?
The way they've been moving, I think it will be close. I think they're going to be finishing up touching when they say we're going to be substantial. Now that all changes with rain or whatever, but I mean right now that's a doable. It's a doable day, but they're going to have to.
About 60 days, so.
Yeah, they're gonna have to keep everything online. And I'm trying to get us in as quick as we can, so. Any other questions on that? And Commissioner, feel free, I just got this, yesterday.
Okay.
That's usually how it was set up early in. If there's any questions, don't hesitate to email me or call me. It doesn't matter to me. Moving on to the jail. Jail. Oh, boy. Man, we were going along just great, and our mildew stuff has come back on the admin side, not the jail side. Because if you recall, our jail side is the 2 new units. So it's going along great, except the admin side. Now our older units
How
on
about the
the
AC unit?
AC units on that side, who knew we were gonna have rain in July? I mean, this much rain in July. We should be dry right now. Well, we're not, and our units are kind of not keeping up. So we have everybody coming out tomorrow, Climatech and Firetech and Frontier. And we're gonna get a game plan on how we gotta, and I think there's some control issues that we need to address. I looked at that. So we just need to do some upgrading, and I wanna see if we can get some more life out of it. And we'll have to do some more mildew cleaning, because I never thought we'd have this high humidity in the middle of July. So, that's gonna be another ongoing project for us, but it's no different than these 2 buildings that we've got running
Are
now.
we gonna be able to correct it without replacing the 2 units, or is that,
I believe so. I think we just need to get it tweaked where, because these units haven't been used like that. So, you know, it would have been good for 2 months. You know, I don't know if I've had heating elements go out, and that's why, I mean, I can tell it, and I think there's a couple heating elements that we need to upgrade and stuff like that, but I don't, as far as the unit running itself, it's doing fine. It's just some of the pieces and the parts of that unit is not used to how we're using it. And so it's finally given up, and I just didn't catch it. And the control system caught it, but didn't show it on the screen. So we've had some issues that we're gonna take care of tomorrow morning at 7:30.
Okay.
So that's my spiel. I'll be glad to answer any questions. And I will tell anybody that I will answer any questions the maintenance department or the project manager. All you have to do is call me or email me or stop by and see me. So I'm glad to answer for my department.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we will go to agenda item number 7, Texas A&M AgriLife County Extension Agent Alan Holman, quarterly interpretation event. Hi, you're not Alan.
I'm not. He's not here today, but I'm Amy and I'm the summer intern.
Okay.
So I'm here to speak with you all today. Hope that's okay.
Sure, and Andy, we're gonna need your last name, please.
Neal, N-E-A-L.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm Amy Neal. I'm the summer intern here at the Grimes County Extension Office this summer. And Mr. Holman is actually at TC AAA, which is his professional development conference this week. So that's why he's unable to be here today. And Mrs. Moeller, as of last Tuesday, she's officially a mom. So she's
Good.
on maternity leave and enjoying that. And so
Was
that's
it a bull or a heifer?
a bull. Yes, sir. And
AgriLife, you never know, you know?
and so, and then Mrs. Hayes, she had planned to be here today, but unfortunately our administrative staff, Stacy, she's out of the office. So Ms. Hayes is making sure we don't miss any visitors or calls at the
Fair.
office.
Okay.
Right now. Yes, sir. So I'll just go ahead and start out on the Ag and Natural Resources side of things, Agent Homan's side of things. Not all of this was I present for, but hopefully I can give you a little bit of insight on what's been going on. The first thing being the O.D. Butler Forage Field Day. Agent Homan participated in coordinating that event. That was a multi-county event, and so there was over 200 participants there, and he also served as a driver, getting to show them some of those fields. They talked about things like weed ID, hayfield fertility, alternatives, gopher and feral hog management, some helpful things you would definitely need to know, as well as talked about new farm equipment and laws and regulations. And yes, like I said, that was a multi-county event that had over 200 participants. Then the multi-county soil health workshop, over 12 landowner owners participated in that from both Grimes and Waller County. That was a joint effort. It was led and put on by Prairie View A&M. And Agent Homan assisted with presenting some educational resources and information regarding fertilizer and weed control. And then, of course, a thing that has continued in Grimes County that I know Agent Homan has been doing is the private applicator trainings, and 11 landowners have received their license this year from attending those trainings and then going on to take the test that's required to receive that license.
Is there a next date for the next class on here somewhere?
I believe I don't know if it's written, but I believe that the next applicator training is this Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. And then continuing on with the Master Gardeners Association, they've continued to put out that monthly newsletter that reaches over 300 people, and Agent Homan has assisted them with getting them that educational materials that pertain to the things that people in Grimes County might want to know, and specifically growing their gardens and what can, be successfully grown during this time, and things to look out for, pests and different things. And he gives them some information to include in those newsletters that I know are helpful. And then they had their business and board meeting this month, or these past months, and they've actually gotten to meet in person, which I know has been an improvement since going online for those meetings due to COVID. And they discussed their fall internship class, which is an extensive thing to become a master gardener. And they're looking forward to getting to gain some new members and go through that process, and they're planning that process now, as well as they're continuing to keep the flower beds out by the extension office looking great. They were working on it yesterday morning. And then they gave a presentation at the Richard Civic Center back in June that Agent Homan oversaw, and also gave some information about gardening. A lot of people are worried about their oak trees right now. They're not growing like they are due to the freeze. And he gave some advice as far as not cutting those back, waiting to see what the growth looks like, things like that, giving them some time before doing anything drastic. And then, like I mentioned earlier, they're having that fall intern class that they're preparing for, and they currently have 17 individuals signed up for that class, and they're looking forward to that. And then on Agent Moeller's side of things, the family and community health side, there was a successful Senior Citizens Day at the fair. I got to see that and got to take part in that, and that was really cool. I think it's neat that here in Grimes County, there's a place for the senior citizens to enjoy the fair along with the rest of the community. And 123 people attended Senior Citizens Day. That includes 22 vendors. There were 9 volunteers, and then 92 seniors got to enjoy that event. They got to do things such as speak with organizations and businesses in the community here in Grimes County, and also got to enjoy some free health screenings. They got to play bingo, which I know they loved, and they enjoyed a free lunch provided by Mid-South.
Wasn't that your first day or almost your first day?
Yes, sir, it was.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see. There was a lot of participation.
Broke in right.
Yes, sir. And then both Agent Moeller and Agent Homan gave a disaster relief presentation to the Shiro community about just things, what to do in another disaster. I think that they were specifically looking towards, they weren't prepared for the freeze, which who was back in February, and they were looking to see how they could better prepare themselves. So Agent Moeller discussed with them things like what sort of foods to prepare, how to store those foods, waters, things that can be taken on the go in a moment's notice, as well as what sort of documentation and important items and paperwork matters that needed to be stored in a safe place and could also be taken at a moment's notice, as well as Agent Homan discussed with them what Extension does, is in the sense of helping livestock, because what do you do with your livestock if there's a flood or something of that nature, and telling them how to prepare that and what the steps should be if they had a concern about what to do with their livestock in a situation like that. And then Ms. Moeller has continued with her FCH committees discussing how to get the community involved in some of those activities, and they've continued to meet and discuss things like a Cooking Well for Diabetes program and other educational materials such as controlling diabetes and healthy cooking recipes and things of that nature. They probably won't get onto that until October after she's returned from her maternity leave. But yes, they have done some planning as far as that goes with those committees.
Okay.
And then on the 4-H and youth development side, there was a successful District 9 4-H roundup. 19 Grimes County 4-Hers participated in that, and they competed in things such as food challenge, food show, share the fun, public speaking, and livestock skillathon. Excuse me. And those food challenge, food shows, that's just them cooking, learning what goes in the food, and then share the fun is just a talent competition. And then Agent Moeller also volunteered in various competitions with that as well. The Grimes County Fair, I'm sure none of y'all missed that. This year took place, and 117 4-H members participated in that. They were involved in horse show, ag mechanics, creative arts, and all the livestock shows. And over $800,000 was the total sales between the premium and the freezer sales at the fair, which I believe was a record high. So that was really great. And then something I've also gotten to participate in is the major livestock show validations, and 24 4-H and FFA members have validated their livestock for those competitions. That's just proving their ownership now, so they can fairly compete in those competitions later on in the year. And 18 market goats, 3 market lambs, and 19 heifers and steers were in total validated in that process. And then Agent Homan led and coordinated, taught a livestock show ethics clinic where you just discussed with those 4-H members what they should be aware of as far as rules, regulations, things, and how they care for their animals, raise their animals, and how to do that in the way that is ethically sound. And then the 4-H record books, those were turned in. It's getting to the end of the 4-H year. A new 4-H year starts in September. So they turned in those record books, and 19 Grimes County youth turned those in, and those were judged by volunteers from the Master Gardeners, and 15 moved on to the district contest. And then those 15 record books placed at the district level, which was good to see. And then the 4-H Star Wars, those are some formal interviews that the kids get to participate during this time of year to kind of show what they've done in 4-H, get asked questions about their projects, and they get to show how they have grown in 4-H, things of that nature. 15 kids got to be interviewed by other county extension agents in surrounding counties and get to be recognized. Some of them get to be recognized at the awards banquet for receiving their awards. And with that, I have a formal invitation for all of you for the 4-H end of year awards banquet that'll be taking place. I know that they would love to see you there if you're able to attend. I think they have some plans for the commissioners to maybe help recognize those kids that have achieved in 4-H this past year. And then finally, on to Mrs. Hayes' side, the senior fitness program. That was a walking program that just focused on improving health, increasing energy, and they did that in increments of time over a gradual 8-week process. They started out like a small amount of time, 10 to 15 minutes, and then gradually moved up. Then she also was part of a My Plate educational program where over 280 youth were involved with that. She got to discuss with them what does a healthy plate of food look like, what sort of food categories there is, and they got to participate in some fun games to obviously keep them interested and kind of reinforce some of that learning. And then she's continued to work on a number of child safety, passenger safety programs in both Washington County and Brazos County, as you see. And also here in Grimes County, she's fitted several kids for those car seats. And then in Washington County, there was the event that they had that 16 children were fitted for car seats and received those, and then 113 children participated in the same thing in Brazos County, and 75 new seats were issued. And that's just a campaign that is continuing on, and they're kind of helping each other out through the counties, and I believe that continues through the end of August. And then she also held a food safety workshop where 10 youth were able to learn about food and knife safety and how to cook some good recipes as well that are healthy. Then over to the side, there's just some upcoming events we have going on. We have the one-day youth camp that I'm overseeing tomorrow, and so the kids, whether they be in 4-H or not, all kids from the community have been invited. 32, I think, are planning on joining us tomorrow, and so they'll get to just have a fun day interacting, playing some games, learning some team building skills, and hopefully getting people interested in 4-H in that way. But like I said, it's open to all in the community.
Where's that located at?
That'll be at the extension office.
Okay, precinct 3.
Yes, sir. Hopefully it won't rain. But,
Is that why we have colorful youth loops all over the yard?
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Yes, ma'am. And then, like I said, the 4-H Awards Banquet that I gave you your invitation to is on August 1st. It's going to be at 5 o'clock. And then the Back to School Drive, where kids will be receiving those backpacks stuffed with the school supplies that's needed for this coming school year, will be on August 3rd. Like I said, the Child Passenger Safety campaign will continue through August 15th. Then the Kicking Off Nutrition TV through August. And the new 4-H year begins in September. We'll have a kickoff, they'll have a kickoff event, just to kind of welcome new 4-H members, also get people interested in maybe some new projects that they haven't tried before, and on September 18th. There's also some major livestock shows like the State Fair of Texas, the Heart of Texas, and then, of course, there's also the Brazos Valley Fair and Rodeo that are all taking place, moving more towards the fall. So with that, that's pretty much all I have. If y'all have any questions, if I don't know the answer, I can definitely get them to you, but if not, that's all, like I said, all I have.
I just have a comment.
Yes, sir.
You have earned an A today for this presentation.
Thank you.
Tell them to report back.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Tell Ellen the bar's been raised.
Okay.
Amy, before you go, I know we're going to baptize you in a couple of weeks at the Back to School Backpack, but I did want to reiterate to members of the community that this is countywide, all schools countywide. Children can come and receive their backpacks. They must be present in order to receive the backpack, and you would have to have signed up with the office, Ag Extension office. But we want to thank our donors in advance for all the generous donations, and we also want to say Ms. Hayes and you will and myself will be working very hard to get those backpacks issued out. And on behalf of Grimes County, we'd like just to say thank you all for your generous donation also to that program. So
Yes, ma'am.
looking forward.
Yes, ma'am. I know that last year there was over 600 backpacks given out, so I know it's a big help to the kids in the community, and if they're able to get those supplies. So
And it is drive-through.
yes, yes, ma'am. So, yes, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Neal.
you.
Y'all have a good day.
With that, we will go to agenda item number 8, Grimes County IT Director Greg Cannon. Consider and take action to approve the rewiring of the network lines in the Sheriff's Department and jail, as well as remove 60-plus old cameras and cables, our attachment number 8. Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Greg Cannon. I'm the Director of IT for Grimes County, and this proposal that we have before you is budgeted for the 2022 budget, but what we're trying to do is working with the Auditor's Office to possibly get this covered through the America Rescue Program. I was asked to check and make sure that this bid through Enterprise Systems, that they do meet the DIR tips or buy board requirements, and they do. They're actually sending me over an official email that shows the contract numbers that would cover this. So my hope was to try to work with the auditors and the America Rescue Fund to try to get this covered prior to the 2022 budget season. So as it stands right now, we've met the requirements that it falls under DIR, that they fall under the DIR contract for this. But I think what we're still waiting for is the state to determine if we can use those America Rescue funds for this project. And you haven't gotten any information back from them, so
And-
we're still
and
kind of
had-
in limbo.
They're still revising the plans, and I was in a meeting yesterday where they were talking about they've gotten the final plans and they've got the revised final plans, and now they're waiting for the revised final plans. So, and it might be November, December before we get them.
But-
Well, I'm just gonna ask because there is a bit of a sense of urgency to get this done now, correct?
It would be nice. It's not critical. It's not, there is a sense of urgency, but it's not absolutely critical.
But isn't it correct me if I'm wrong, aren't these part of the wires that were on the inside of the jail that you wanted to move to the outside where we have more freedom instead of having to tie up a deputy or a jailer while you're there?
Correct.
So in regards to manpower, then there is a bit of a sense of urgency. So Jesse, if we put this in the 22 budget, but we ultimately find out we can get it done through the ARA, what would be the chance of us taking it out, or taking out a fund balance now to get this initiated, get it started and get it done? And then it's just a matter of paperwork and transfer after we find out if we can. If we can, fine, we reimburse Fund 10 with those funds. If it's not doable, then we know we pulled out a fund balance for the 22 budget, but the job is now done. You follow me?
Yeah, Commissioners Court can opt to take it from fund balance. They can, however, I had concerns on where our fund balance will be after the Justice Center.
Right.
And so then we're just adding on top of that with this. If it can be done in fiscal year 2022, which it sounds like he was willing to wait till 2022, that option probably may be a safer option because you'll be using current revenues versus reducing your fund balance lower than what we want. And especially with the Justice Center not being completed, we won't know where we stand and if we exceed that budget. But Commissioners Court can make that decision.
Greg, was any of this in this year's budget? I thought I heard you say that before.
This wasn't in this year's budget. This has been kind of something we've been looking at for several years because we know we've been fighting wiring issues in the jail and the sheriff's office. The ceilings are suffering. Al can tell you from the weight of all the extra cables that could be removed that have been left up there from previous installations and stuff. Like I said, these 60 to 70 plus cameras, plus all the wiring behind that. That's old wiring. It's very heavy wiring. It causes the ceilings to sag. There's a lot of cable that's been just cut and left up there that needs to just be pulled down because it causes problems to us when we trace a cable. We had to trace a cable just from the booking area to the dispatch area. We're talking 20 feet, but it ran all through the ceiling, all the break. It took us almost 3 hours to find that cable into that cable. So if all that stuff's moved out, the time it saves us in productivity, because we can just, those cables are organized and labeled, it helps. So there's multiple benefits. As the judge mentioned, we're trying to get away from having cabling run into the sheriff's office, running into the jail, because that's a secured area. And technically, we're supposed to have a escort anytime we go into that area. Fortunately, Andrew had his jail certifications, and that allowed us to do that with his certification. He's reapplying and qualifying for that certification again, so that we can continue to use him as our escort. So there is advantages of us not being in the jail facility itself where our computer equipment stuff.
Also, I'm sorry, one more. Also remember that this isn't budgeted for, so court would have to make the decision if this is an unforeseen emergency to amend the budget for this year, if you're doing it this year.
But your preference is us not do it this year because you don't want to take anything out of fund balance until we kind of get the Justice Center bought and paid for and see where we're at there, correct?
Well, yes, that's a
your
concern,
preference.
and then it would be whether or not you guys see that as an unforeseen emergency, yes, sir. And then we're also in the middle of July, so 2.5 months before the new year begins.
Well, we need to make sure that it's in the 22 budget if we don't approve to pull it out of fund balance now. Because whether we do it now or we do it in 2.5 months, it needs to be done to, one, relieve your department of working inefficiently. And what I mean by that is tracing a lot of dead-end wires and cables, so.
I agree.
And we're talking about $22,100.86. Is that what the quote's gonna be when Enterprise sends it over?
The total quote is 44,201.
Where's that other
22
come?
is the half up front to
Oh, okay.
29.
And correct me, wasn't there another bid that was attached to this last week? That
there
if
was
we
a-
did them both at the same time, there's some cost savings?
Yes, the fiber connectivity
Okay, that was-
between the offices. There would be some savings there by doing both at the same time. But the other fiber bid is 161,000, so that would have
Yeah,
to.
I would be concerned with saying this is an emergency when clearly you're looking at it for next year's budget. And to go back into fund balance, that would concern me because we're already working on a tight line. Particularly, we're right in the middle of a building project that we don't know where we may land. Hopefully, we're landing in the right place. It looks like we're headed that way. But if it's something that could wait, I would rather see it wait till the 2022 budget because if we can save some money, if you have to have the other done, and there's savings in there, then we could do them together and we could have our question answered perhaps by that time from the person that's going to oversee the grant to whether not this is going to be doable under the American Rescue Plan. Right now, we don't have an answer because we are out for proposals to hire someone to oversee that, and they're just slow right now about answering questions. And so it'd be great if we can do that in 22, both ways with the American Rescue Plan and also just waiting to make sure we know where we're at.
I do agree with the judge that whether we do it now or do it later, it needs to be done. So, for his response, I've got it in my budget for 2022. The hope is that we don't have to reduce my budget for that would be taken out, because I think it is something critical that needs to be done for that building.
And we have a budget meeting, Father, right after this.
Workshop right after this, yes.
Well, I would say that my concern is that pulling from fund balance, we probably need to isolate that to emergencies, and I think Mr. Cannon said it's urgent, but not an emergency at this point. And I certainly agree with you, it probably needs to be done, but if we can put it in the 22 budget, that would be more beneficial to, I think, the dollars.
And thank you for confirming that. I think that's one of the questions we were concerned with, because other than that, we would have had to go out for bids for an amount that's so close to the $50,000, just in case we ran into other things while we were in there. So that was one other thing.
Well, I hear what everybody's saying. I'm not totally in agreement with waiting to get this done because it's going to come out of fund balance on October the 1st anyway. Because we're taking our budget. I mean, we're budgeting and that money's going to come from
Revenues.
revenue.
Not from fund balance. It's gonna come from new revenues.
Well, this has to be an emergency, and
Yeah.
Mr.
Okay.
Cannon mentioned it was urgent, but not an emergency. So-
And I yield on that. All right.
Any questions? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to, no action at this time
Okay.
on agenda item number 8. All right, agenda item number 9, Grimes County Clerk Vanessa Brzezinski, consider and take action to approve agreement with Permatium to provide online vital records services at no cost to the county.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
So, this is a fairly new service that I'm excited to bring to the citizens of Grimes County. It will allow them to request vital records birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates online, completely online. They fill out an application online, they pay online, they submit a copy of their identification online, and their identification is verified online. Once that process is complete, then we receive the application, process the application, and send that vital record to the applicant via mail, or they can choose to come pick it up in person. But it keeps them from having to come to the office, especially if they don't live in the county, but they need a record of their birth or their loved one's death in the county, and they can't come to the county. Currently, you have to come in person, fill out a paper application. We have to get a copy of their driver's license, and then they have to pay, cash, credit card, however. Doing it online, they can do everything online. And again, this service does not cost the county any money. There is a convenience fee that is passed on to the consumer of $4 for doing it online. And it expedites the process tremendously because we can turn around in a day. We can get the application, get it back out in the mail the very next day, or even sometimes the same day. The state of Texas does have an online application process, but they have a backlog, and it can take 2 to 3 months to get a document from the state records. But if we have the record here in our office, like I said, we can turn it around in 24 hours.
I read through the agreement once kind of thoroughly, and then the second time just perused it, but I didn't see where you could return the document via email. Can you?
No, because it is a certified document.
Okay,
So
so
it's
it's-
gonna have a raised seal on it
Gotcha.
with my signature.
I didn't know if like DocuSign being accepted on so many legal
Right.
documents these days, if that'd be, but you need to have the embossment or whatever.
We do.
Okay.
And currently, if you were to mail in the paper application, you would have to go get it notarized,
Yeah.
which is an added step. But this process is all done online. They don't have to go find a notary.
You said it's a fairly new service.
Yes, so there's only one county right now that's using it, and that's Ellis County.
Ellis.
Ellis, And then the city of Houston uses this service, which I actually used it to get my own birth certificate from last year. And the city of Bryan also uses this service. And I did talk to the county clerk in Ellis County, and they're very pleased. They've had it for a year, and it really helped out, especially during COVID when the offices were shut down. People could still get their documents. And the way the county gets paid is the consumer pays the per medium, and the per medium submits a check at the end of each month to the county for all fees collected. And that would go straight back into our revenues.
Did our county attorney have any issues with the contract or the agreement, the license agreement?
I don't have any concerns, I just noted that there's an automatic renewal in there that requires notice before
Yes.
I
termination.
know how much you love those, so.
Right, not a big fan.
I'm not clear on a statement that I'm reading,
Okay,
right up on the cost of services.
okay.
Now,
What page are we on?
the last sheet,
Okay.
the exhibit 1, cost of service, they would charge,
Oh, yes.
we
yes.
pick $4 for all transactions as an embedded fee, or $4 passed on as a convenience fee back to the applicant for each application submitted. Then,
Go ahead.
I'll let you go ahead and
Okay, well, I
explain
was
that
gonna
point.
say, the county, me as county clerk, or can choose how we wanna charge that $4. You can embed it into the fee, meaning a birth certificate is 23, so if you embed it, it would be 27. Or you can still say it's 23, and then there's a $4 convenience fee. It comes out the same either way. It's just however we wanted to do that. I would prefer having it passed on as a convenience fee, just to keep the book straight as to, what's being, because we do have to submit $1.83 for every birth certificate and death certificate issued back to the state. So for bookkeeping purposes, I think it would be best to keep those separate. And then there's a credit card fee that's passed on to the consumer as well. We can opt to also charge them a 35-cent vital verification fee. It's just an added security for them to validate their identity. And that's also, that 35 cents is also passed on to the consumer. And then again,
And the statement right after that one, the current rate is 30 cents per transaction plus 2.9% of the total
right,
transaction.
that's when they use their credit card, like even when someone walks into our office and they use a credit card to pay for they're charged $1 for, you know, a credit card convenience fee. And they can also choose to come into the office and pay cash if they don't want to pay that credit card fee.
So they
the
have an option on the, online to choose
Yes,
whether
ma'am.
they pay
Yeah,
once they
can
come
choose to come
to.
in and pay in person and pick it up in person.
Okay,
if
that's,
they
that's
like.
where I was confused
Yes,
because,
ma'am, it is a little confusing.
so the 2.9 comes up to $1, what did we come up with yesterday? $1.09, was it?
So you said it was $23, right?
For a
Plus
birth
the
certificate, it's
$4.
$23, yeah.
Plus, and are you gonna charge off for the 35-cent vital fee?
I would like to, just because it's an added security.
So it would be the 35-cent
Mhm.
vital fee, the 30 cent for the transaction, is that correct?
Mhm.
So that's $27.65, and then 2.9% of that total, is that correct?
That's
Mhm.
what it says. That's
Yeah.
what it says.
So
there-
$27.65,
Mhm.
you'll end up paying $28.45.
Right.
Or instead of the 23.
Right, right. So again, it's a convenience, and it's not, it's gonna be optional. So
Sure.
they can do that if they.
Just another benefit.
Just another benefit, but they can still come in and do it the old-fashioned way as well, by coming in person or, you know, mailing us a request.
But you said they could access their records for free if they go through the state. It's just a back.
Well, it's not free, they still have to pay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still, but again, it takes a long time, a couple months to get one directly from the state. But yeah, we charge the same as the state charges.
We can just get it to them quicker.
We can get it to them quicker, especially if there's a need to have it quicker. Absolutely.
Does this help your staff?
I think it would just speed up the process, you know, because it takes a while to, you know, process everything
Verifying.
on paper, in the office. And I think it would just, you know, be an easier way to keep track of how many birth certificates we're issuing and how many death certificates we're issuing. And they can use it for marriage licenses as well.
So currently, we don't have vital records online.
No, ma'am, because they're not public. Yeah, they're private, so we cannot put those records online.
Does this program integrate with the other programs that we have going on?
I don't think it will actually integrate. I'm not sure exactly how you know, once we get trained on the software and how it works. I don't know if it's going to be just an email notification or if it's going to be a separate website we have to log into. I haven't found that out yet. They're going to, once we approve this, they're going to walk me through how it's going to work.
So there's no cost as far as software, is there any,
No, I think it's just a website.
no hosting, no management of records?
No, no.
Does that, Andrew, would they be using our system in any kind of way where there's any cybersecurity threats that you're concerned
Email
with?
notification, to be honest with you.
I'm involved with any of this information, so I couldn't give you an answer. It sounds like it's a web service,
Uh-huh.
which is the same as what we
Yeah.
use in many places, so our system would just be accessing the internet, no different than any other.
So
Okay.
would you have any issue if the court chooses to approve this before we fully implement it, getting the sign off from the IT department?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because I think security, IT security is very important.
So your request, Commissioner Cox, is that we postpone making a decision on this get a buy-off from IT, then put it back on the
I
agenda?
think, well, no, I mean, I would say if the court is willing, you can approve it contingent on.
IT okay?
Yeah.
Do you see any downside to this?
I don't. I see it as a plus. I think it would be a great service to the citizens that want to use this. And, you know, we're all trying to move forward and get more technology, you know.
Technologically savvy.
Technologically, yes.
Commissioner Cox, you want to make a motion on that?
Yes, sir. I move that we approve the agreement between, what's the name?
Permitium.
Permitium to provide online vital record services at no cost to the county, contingent on approval of the implementation plan by the IT department.
Second. There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 9 by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Would you let us know what IT says?
Yes, I will.
Who made the second?
Commissioner Dobianski?
Okay.
We go to agenda item number 10, Grimes County Commissioner Precinct 4, Philip Cox. Discuss and take action to appoint an advisory committee to investigate the feasibility of construction contractor permitting within Grimes County. Commissioner?
Yes, sir. So this subject matter came up. It's been a discussion a few times. And just looking at what our potential growth is in the county, I think it might be worthy of a conversation. So I'm not advocating for it one way or the other. I just think we need to open up that conversation. Like we've had noted this morning, there's probably some health and safety concerns that were pointed out this morning already. And the government code allows us to do that. Section 233, subchapter F, outlines all of the requirements on how we can do that. We already do permitting in several areas of the county. And if we just want to talk about a subdivision, we require plating, we require road permits. This gentleman right here is well aware of that. And we require sewer permitting. And I'm not real sure that permitting is the term to use, but I do believe that it's probably worthy of a discussion, and I'd be willing to be the liaison if the court sees fit to form a committee, just to get some ideas to recommend back to the court, if at all. I'm not sure if we're even ready for this, but we've seen a couple of examples this morning on some of the things that are going on out in the county. One of the things that catches my mind is that plumbers deal with wastewater treatment, but they also deal with gas. And there are, obviously, you want those people to be licensed if they're doing that type of work. Same thing with HVAC, electrical, or any other licensed type work. So that's just my position. I'd just like to have that discussion, and it may go forward with gusto, and it may die on the vine.
I have a question on that. Where have we had complaints with this issue?
As far as, well, I mean, there's several subdivisions in the county that you could point to, and I'd rather not, but because where people live, but they're examples of substandard housing and construction throughout the county.
Do you think that permitting will change this?
I think if we follow the government code, it could, yes. If we're, I mean, the government code specifically deals with where it can be done and where it can't. I'm not in favor of, if somebody wants to work on their own piece of property, they can do it. I mean, that's just the way it is. But we're talking about new construction. We're talking about, I think there was some reference made to unlicensed work being conducted. apparently it's pretty prevalent on the internet, that I don't think we want to buy into that as a county. It's not uncommon. There are other counties throughout the state that use building codes and standards in the unincorporated areas. If you build a structure in a city's ETJ, you have to abide by their codes, even if it's in the county. So, and it's something that I think is worthy of a discussion. We are poised, I think, for some level of growth in the near future, so it's up to the court how you want to handle that, but maybe worth a look.
Being a former builder, I don't think the permitting process is gonna change what we've seen this morning, because you're gonna have people out there that don't want to pay, and they're gonna find somebody to do that, whether you have a permit or not. They're just not gonna get a permit.
Okay.
And I've seen some of that stuff with
Sure. Sure.
remodeling and construction. I've seen it myself.
Well, the government code makes reference several times to new residential construction, and how that process can be played out. There's 3 inspection points, and there's qualified people that do the inspections. It's all outlined in the government code. And there are penalties for failing to follow that, and there are also penalties for failing to follow TDLR's requirements of licensed contractors performing work. There are definitely people out in the county that have the knowledge and probably will do it, but I think we owe it to the people, this is just my opinion, I think we owe it to the people that have the license, carry the insurance, take the risk to do the jobs, to offer some type of protection to them, as opposed to somebody that's qualified and still charging to do the work. Actually, I think it's against the law for that to happen, but there's no doubt that it does. We've seen a couple of examples this morning.
Mr. Foltz, is there liability for the county if we have it or if we don't have it?
No,
Sir?
no.
Okay. Golly, that's the shortest answer you have ever given on any question that's ever been asked, and I want you to know I appreciate it. Let the record show.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I guess when I had my home built here in Grimes County, I hired a builder to build it, but before I hired that builder, I asked for references, and I'm sure he only gave me the good references like a good referral system does, but out of those 4 or 5 that I did visit with, they were very satisfied. Now, with that, he had what was required to do the job. Now, did I check to see if he had a plumber's license or electrical license or HVAC? No, I used, I paid him and then held him responsible for doing it, and then I had a 10-year warranty on the home. Now, anything that falls apart is on my tab, but I don't know, I kind of left it up to that builder to make sure that he was using qualified personnel. I will go back to one thing Mr. Foltz has said more than a few times, other than yes or no. He said that one of the reasons people live in the county is they don't have all of those restrictions or rules or those kind of things. I understand, Commissioner, what you're saying, that it is a public safety issue, at least for the family that maybe builds their own home or lives there and maybe doesn't go through a licensing or a qualified person to get the job done. But I'll revert back to your question, Commissioner Dobianski. I haven't heard one complaint or one concern. I haven't heard anything from the fire departments, and not between them and Mr. Lilly, I stay pretty well connected about house fires going up because of bad electrical. And it certainly could be, because we don't have a fire inspector that's going out. If we think it's arson, then we turn it over to the sheriff's office and they get the appropriate people in there for that. But as far as other causes, It's just kind of based on their experience, so. I will say I'm not for or against this either, but I don't know if we need to go looking for trouble. Other comments or motion?
Is there, I guess, any reference to any counties that actually have this in place that you know of?
Sure. McLennan County does. You can get that information online. Harris County does. I think Brazos County has it to some degree. Not every, I'm trying to think. I looked them up and I
Fort
don't.
Bend, Brazoria,
Say-
and lots of them.
There's numerous counties that do that, in unincorporated areas. And it's just more or less a public safety issue. I think they're trying to address than anything. Not trying to be preventative growth or building, it's just more of a safety issue and preserving the rights of the contractors who have gone through and jumped through the hoops to do what is required to develop and maintain their skills while abiding by the law.
Now, I guess excuse my exit, but I had to go. Are you proposing a feasibility study? Or are you trying to take action as far as a county, taking action to,
He's asking for a study.
he's asking for a study?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
What I'm actually asking for is just to form an advisory committee with some of the contractors probably that are in here today and get their opinion on whether or not they feel like that it's something that the court or the county should address or not, based on, I mean, I guess the committee could take on a formal data gathering, in-depth feasibility study, but I don't know if that's the way to go if the court's not even going to entertain the idea.
well, if you're talking about forming a committee to even investigate, and you're proposing using contractors, my concern would be that it would need to be balanced with citizens also who may have knowledge in that field, not just your contractors, but also your citizens, everyday citizens that live within the community would need to be on there. My concern is when it comes to government, people want less government in their lives as they possibly can, and many of them choose to go to rural communities, unincorporated areas, so they can avoid all the regulations. You know, we do the permitting through the county of septic systems. That's inspected through us, and we know that along with that comes inspectors. It comes, I heard earlier, I think maybe somebody mentioned that it can be done with the contractors, but it still has to come back to the county to implement some type of regulation as far as what's going to happen to that individual should they break code or whatever. The city of Navasota has a code inspector, and you're talking about you would not only, even if it was done the way it was proposed by someone that spoke on it earlier, it still has to come to the county. That means more employees. That means more time spent out in the field. And I know our septic people are just overwhelmed sometimes with septics. So I wonder what the cost would be to the county that in turn filters out to the citizens by way of, we're looking at adding more and more, and you could possibly see increase in taxes just to regulate something that we may not be able to regulate. You know, that's even like garbage and stuff. We have a difficult time because there's not a lot of ways to implement some type of punishment if they, spread garbage. So, is it new construction, or are we talking about repairs?
We're talking about new residential construction, and the government code specifically addresses that it's the responsibility of the builder for contracting to perform inspections with either a licensed engineer, a registered architect, a professional inspector licensed by the Texas Real Estate Commission, a plumbing inspector employed by a municipality and licensed by the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners, a building inspector employed by a political subdivision, or an individual certified as a residential combination inspected by the International Code Council.
So this is primarily new construction?
New construction, it's the builder's responsibility, and it's these folks' responsibility to come out and do the inspections at the 3 stages that are listed in the government code. At the end of the day, if the court chooses to implement this, it could be as simple as getting that documentation from the builder who's had it inspected and submit it to the commissioner in the precinct in which the structure is being built. Just like we do road permits, we can deny those. If everything's in order, we sign off on it.
But do we have the ability as one commissioner to sign off for a commissioner's court? I mean, is it just, I mean, I don't know if I would want to be held liable for signing off on somebody's thing and it burns down and then I'm held some type of way. But when I want to go back to your thing about new construction, most people with the prices of houses and what they cost now, you go to a bank, banks require, your financial institution requires these inspections to be done by the builder. And so if you're financing something, there's some responsibility to that financial institution to make sure the building is up to code. You know, as far as rural repairs, if this doesn't address rural repairs at all, and a lot of what you see is talking about repairs, then we haven't addressed the issue fully at all by just doing this that somebody else should be already doing as far as your banks and the state of Texas, you know. But, you know, I'm always open to listening, but I am also concerned at the cost and how it filters down to our citizens, you know, particularly if the county judge, he hears complaints, I think, almost every day. And if you're not getting those complaints, I mean, how big a problem is it?
What you just said with, if this is all new construction, we're not addressing what he showed us a while ago because somebody came in and did that, and it probably wasn't new construction when they did that. At a meeting I was at last night, not about this, but I was at a church meeting and somebody asked me about this particular item on the agenda and we got to talking about it. He said in Montgomery County, his mother was replacing an AC unit. She had to get a permit to replace a unit that had been installed before. And he said that's what happens when you start getting permits. They're going to go into every aspect of repairs and maintenance of a house. You know, it just adds to the cost of repairs. It adds to the cost of building a home. So,
Well, Commissioner, do you want to make a motion? Commissioner Cox?
I will. I move that we take action to appoint an advisory committee to investigate the feasibility of construction contractor permitting within Grimes County.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion fails, no second. We'll go to agenda item number 11. Grimes County Commissioner Precinct 2, David Dobianski, discussion of the status of Grimes County animal rescue. I guess you can annually do them. Animal rescue and possible action on amendment of agreement with Grimes County regarding location of animal shelter. Good morning.
Good morning.
we have Kristen Carroll here today, who is president of Grimes County Animal Rescue, and she's has a presentation to go over the new site we're looking at.
Yes, so I passed out a map before the meeting, and please, it's not official, pardon my drawings. It's from our appraisal district's website, but I thought it would give you a better idea of what we're looking at and how it relates to the new Justice Center. We met It's probably been over a year ago originally, and the original site that we picked out, we took I think at that time it was 1 40-acre tract that the county owns that the jail was on, and we just like put a circle and an X in the back corner. I'm happy to report now that we think we have substantially all the funds we need to build the building. We're working on figuring out a contingency fee and what that should be. There are a few issues for our sewer line, and we need to get a better idea of what our electricity is going to cost. But with all that being said, we're hoping to break ground by the end of this year. So as we're getting closer, this is our next step, is to figure out exactly where we're going to put it so that we can finalize all of those details. So what I'm proposing there, if you look, there's like an orange box. That would be the piece of land we would request. And it's hard to tell with the measurements that are on there, and I'm sorry for that, so please pardon my very homemade hand sketch that's included as your last page. It gives you some better ideas of the dimensions that we're asking for. And I'll go over that roughly. I don't want to take a lot of time, but just to kind of explain why we picked that area. It's close to the road, which is a problem partially because the driveway is expensive, but mostly because the sewer line we're going to have to run to the building now has to go under that new road to the courthouse. And the specifications for that is that it has to be like 6 or 8 feet under that road. So just the sewer line alone now, from the road to where it is on that map, is going to be about $30,000. So the further back we go, frankly, the more unattainable it gets to finally be able to build this. So the way it is right now, if you look at that sketch on the far right side, that would be the property line. We try to get over to the side and kind of out of the way as much as we can, because I know that there are no plans for the rest of that space yet, but we want to leave it open for whatever the county may need. So we've come off the utility easement and then have about 70 foot of dog runs. And that seems like a lot, but we have a foster program that we've implemented so we can start learning a little bit about how we can take care of these dogs so that noise and sounds from them barking all the time are minimized, especially where it's going to be located. And what we have found is that the more room we have for them to run, and we let them out and they run and they be dogs, the less they bark and the less they cause problems, and the quieter it will be for everybody that has to be around them. So that's why that's there. It's also on the right side of the building, because if you're looking at this map, the new Justice Center would be to the left. So the plan is to put a lot of trees, foliage, things like that, that once they're mature and grown, will help be a buffer for all of that sound, so that again, y'all don't have to listen to them. It's a need that the community, we need this shelter, and I think the community's ready to see it. But I also understand we're spending a lot of money to have a non-state courthouse, and we don't want it to take away from that. So I've tried to be respectful of that. We've got 30 foot to the left of the building that's just for future parking, enough room to get in there and park, turn around. And then there's 100 foot from the back of the building to where the back property line we would be asking for, just in the lease, of course, but so we can expand it in the future. The way it's designed, when it needs to be expanded, which is hopefully after my tenure, we could take down that wall and just go out, easily expanded, so that'll suit our needs for a longer time. So that's what I have, and I'm sure y'all have questions. I'd be more than happy to answer them.
I do. I have a question. To the left where the sheriff department is, were we originally looking at it being behind the sheriff department?
Originally, it was going to be to the west of the sheriff's department. Are you familiar where the Anderson Fire Department built that new building back there, the little storage building? We were going to be right behind that. When they put that building there, it blocked the view of the animal shelter because it was going right behind that.
It ended up to, I think we weren't gonna, where their storage building was, what happened is, because of the way the land slopes right there, it added some $200,000 of dirt work to our cost to try to make that part level. And then there wasn't really gonna be enough room for parking. Plus, the fire department's not very big and our county is growing, and we felt like if we take up that space, there's nowhere for them to really grow either.
And talking to the sheriff yesterday, he was concerned about the all of the building that's over there now, and he said moving it away from there would hopefully open that up a little more.
Can you show me where the road comes in? The new road?
If you look, actually, if you look on one of those maps, you'll see the parcel that y'all bought for the new road. It'll be on the
Is
right
that the one in red?
No, one of the aerial images, if you look,
Bill, come on up here.
this right here, that's the parcel that
Right.
searches for the new road.
Right.
That's right.
It's in case by the two reds.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, when you come in off of Highway 90 into the Justice Center, that building will be to the right, just as you enter into their property there. There's a 20-foot utility easement right along that fence line, and then the animal shelter will be just west of that.
To give you more of an idea, if you've been to the courthouse recently, which I promise we didn't get permission before we went out there and measured things, but.
Well, y'all weren't in the building, that was.
No.
Y'all were over.
No, we're in the back 90, but they have this big like roller machine, what's it called?
A roller
In
machine.
a giant brush pile. That would kind of be where the front of the building is right now, where that giant brush pile is. And then they've got a chain link fence that they've put up to secure some of their equipment. The building would end before that fence. That fence would kind of be where the back border is. And we went and put some flags out too, so that y'all could kind of get a better idea as good as you could from it, so.
Would you, are you anticipating any expense as far as construction-wise from the county?
You mean additional expense or like expense to be paid by the county? No.
Yes, okay, so like obviously this is gonna require some, connection to the parking lot that's already, or will be in place. Is that gonna be at your expense, or is that gonna be at our expense?
Right now, we're not planning to physically connect to the parking lot. It's close enough, and I feel like the shelter is gonna do enough service to the citizens that I don't mind asking them to walk just a little bit. I mean, they'll have to pull in through that parking lot, and I'm hoping that's okay, but,
And would you have
we're
just
not
a sidewalk
planning on-
or something that
Yeah,
goes from the parking lot
it
to
could even
there?
be gravel, like the sheriff's department's extension is right now at first. I mean, I'm not concerned about it actually connecting and being paved to and from. I think for the service that we're trying to provide to the community at no cost to them, I don't mind asking people to go on a little bumpy road to get there.
May I ask the question? You said this is what type of shelter again? Not in terms of dog, but in terms of how long would an animal
They call it a no-kill, meaning
Be
that we
at the
don't
shelter.
euthanize them. They call it a no-kill, meaning that we don't euthanize them. That's one of the things we've been focusing on, though, is we could put 100 kennels in this thing, and if we don't actually have a plan to move the animals through,
Yeah.
we're still gonna be full after the first month and not be able to take any more and not be fixing any problems. So as part of the foster program that we've implemented, we're sending a lot of dogs to New York, about 30+ a month.
Can you believe
So, yeah, I don't know, they all like them up there, like they get.
So your capacity is 100 dogs?
No.
No.
That's what.
Roughly
What's your-
30. We've
roughly
reduced it a
30.
little bit to
Okay.
get the cost down, since we can move more dogs if we have the appropriate infrastructure in place and connections, which we're working on. So we're focusing more on moving more animals more quickly, the turnaround aspect of it, because it's really gonna be the only way that no-kill is feasible. Because the last thing I wanna do is fundraise for this thing for 7 years, build it, open it, fill it up, and then tell people, sorry, we can't help you anymore. I think nothing's gonna anger folks more than if we do that, and that's not the goal.
So
Any shelter that you go to, their goal is to get that animal out of there within 30 days if you visit with them. We visited a lot of different shelters, talked to a lot of different people, and you have to move them. There are a number of states that will take animals. Colorado is one.
Montana, Colorado, New York. What we've been told is that in the northern states, there's more government regulation on pet ownership. All pets in New York have to be registered. You have to provide proof every year that you give them shots, all that stuff. So that in turn, it means that they don't have near as many stray animals, so there's actually a demand for them up there. Right here, we're lucky if we get a litter of like 11 really cute puppies, which is often during the certain times of the year. We're lucky if we can get a few people to pay $85 to take the cutest ones off our hands. In New York, the adoption fee for a full-grown pit mixed mutt is about $500+ dollars. People pay it.
So could we charge this in New York?
New York City.
Well, that's where they take them up to New York.
Ours right now go on a transport that stops a few different places. It takes about 23 hours, and they end up in Queens, New York, on 297th Street, and that's where they go get to their homes. But actually, the rescue that we have up there, and we're working on trying to find a few more connections, so we're not at the liberty of one, but they are helping with the vetting expense of it, so our expenses and the dogs are minimal, because we want to, operating costs for this is a whole nother thing that we're trying to obviously minimize.
Have you, when's your anticipated construction date?
We would like to break ground by the end of this summer. The only reason that we haven't officially been able to sign a contract right now is because until we know the exact location, then we will know the exact cost for sewer and electricity, then we will know if we have enough money and feel comfortable signing a contract. Also, you know, the price of material just skyrocketed recently. It's starting to come back down, and we're hoping that while we're figuring all this out, if we're not under contract yet, we can give that a little bit of time to fall on the consumer side before we sign up to.
So I don't want to rain on your parade, okay? The Justice Center is not scheduled to be complete until October the 1st, as of the information we had this morning.
Right.
Access to the construction sites you're wanting to utilize may be limited based on
Right.
conversations you heard earlier in this meeting today. Would you have any problem postponing the construction until final completion of the Justice Center?
I don't think we would have very much option there, so yes, I would. The other thing is, the way that contractors are busy right now, and I think they're still kind of having a little bit of trouble with the availability of materials and
Yeah.
getting them in time. If we're able to enter into a construction agreement early, mid-August, it may be October very well before they can start anyways. I think at least. So, to me, that wouldn't be as much of a concern. The main reason why we're trying to get started by the end of this year, we had a big fundraiser this spring, and we have been telling people for 7 years now, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and we're working on it. And as we're collecting donations, we really want to be able to show all the citizens that we are delivering on this and it's actually happening now. So that's the push. But I think you can show progress in other tangible ways if we need to wait to break ground. Like you can put a big sign out there, this is where it is. We can show tangible progress in other ways if we need to for that.
From our parking lot to where your front door would be, or 3 or 4 front parking spots, how far is that?
You know, I don't know. I can find out.
Well, since you're a tax exempt organization, it might be that a contractor would need a tax exempt donation while we're building. I'm not suggesting anything other than we could talk to our builder if they had leftover semen in their trucks or what have you, you know. But they'd also need to know something.
Yeah.
But again, while all of this is in progress, you know,
And I'll mention
Get it
too,
done.
one of the other things is the sewer cost is gonna be large. I mean, 30,000 for our group is a large number.
sure.
And so a septic system isn't feasible with the volume we have. It's also within the city limits. The environmental permitting would not be feasible. I don't think it would even be allowed if we were able to go that route, but we've looked into it. So we're gonna have to do a septic system. It's gonna have to go under that new road. If we know for sure where the building is gonna be and where that's at, it's possible that we might be able, from what I understand, the pipe goes into another pipe called a sleeve or something? Casey? Okay, we can lay that, it can be laid under the road now, saving us the substantial cost of having to bore under the road after it's already been finished.
Kind
That's
of
my
a dig
understanding.
once policy.
I don't know that we can commit to that because
Yeah, because we've already line tested and everything.
Regardless, I mean, I know that boring under the road, if we have to do the maximum is $30,000, and we're prepared to pay that. But the further, if we have to move the building further back, that cost is gonna go up. And if we can do it before the road is finished, I know that it's faster, but we knew when we discussed that, it was very easy to tell that the road progress was being made rather quickly and it might not happen, but it was one of the thoughts.
Yeah, it's already compacted, so it's to the point where.
Yeah. I mean, we just load it, you missed it about 3 days. If somebody would have said something earlier to me, I could have maybe held off in the area, but I didn't know we're.
No, we certainly don't want to hold up progress on that. Just, it's worth mentioning.
'Cause your sewer line has to go out to 149 connection, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. There's no 90 connection, is there?
No.
It would be
There's no
farther,
sewer
it'd
along
be
there?
farther than that.
I don't think there's a sewer line down through there on 90.
Okay.
Judge, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So where your flags are they inside the fence?
Yes. Those are not done by a surveyor, so they're not super exact.
So that brings up another thing that I'll have to address with Collier is, will they adjust their fence? Because inside the fence is what's covered by their insurance. And I think I got a good enough relationship, but I don't want to speak for Collier. If we can adjust their fence, depending on where the dirt work is and all, I'm unfamiliar with, I know where the place is, but I don't know the lines and all that, how that will affect Collier. Collier might come back and say, hold off until we're done.
I think
Just-
we probably would be better off just holding off till we're done.
And that would be fine. Like I said, I think when we say by the end of the year, we're not expecting we're thinking more towards the end of the year.
But the main issue right now that you would like addressed is what piece of dirt are we going to allocate
That way
to?
we can finalize the budget and we know for sure that we have the money to build it.
And I've got a surveyor lined up to survey it for us, and then we will work with John C. to redo the lease agreement on it after we get the survey done.
Is there an initial, we need to just determine, is there an agreement amongst the court to adjust the amendment or accept the amendment because we're moving from one side of the property to the other side of the property? And I think where you're moving it is an ideal spot, don't misunderstand me. It's just that we need to get this all done in order.
We've certainly tried to be as out of the way as possible and mindful of the fact that we have a very expensive new building there that needs to look like an expensive new building and feel that way. And so tried to be mindful of that while also getting this accomplished.
Somebody could buy that land from Jim Westmoreland and put in a PetSmart. Pick up your puppy and stop and buy some supplies.
Do we have any future plans for back in the building, the back of the building? Where is storage?
Storage is going to be in this area here. Regardless of how big or how small, it's designated in that particular area. Be the northwest corner up there.
Yeah.
Is there any issue with security as far as now that your inmates are trustees?
No. They're trustees, all of the guys that will work back there would be trustees.
That's what I
Because
said.
I discussed that with.
They're
Sheriff.
trustees, yeah.
So is this what's being deemed as attachment, Exhibit A? John?
Yes, what was intended was an aerial, and you have two aerials and
A sketch.
yeah, a diagram. We can label all of those Exhibit A, or if there's gonna be a survey done, you can wait and have the survey done as Exhibit A, and we can modify this agreement later. So, not to tell you your business, but if you're the owner of an asset and someone's gonna build something on it, I would think that you would wanna be really comfortable about it. And if you're not comfortable by looking at the diagram alone and you wanna go scratch around with Collier's permission, and you want Al to weigh in as far as whether this helps the site flow or doesn't help the site flow, then you don't have to approve the amendment today. I think it's the next step they want you to take, but I just prepared it knowing that we were going to receive an aerial, and so that would be in front of you today. You can attach any and all of those as Exhibit A. You could decide you're going to approve today and swap out Exhibit A later with a survey, an actual survey. Or you could say, wait a second, I want to go put my boots on the ground and take a look at it before I approve the amendment. Should I have just said no?
No. Yep, what you just said was helpful.
I mean, I think it's probably in the general vicinity, but I think it's probably prudent that if it's not based on this aerial, exactly where it's gonna be and some of these other issues that we've been discussing this morning have come up, I think we probably ought to get Al to go out there with you possibly.
I would just, before we have the surveyor come out, it would be good if all the commissioners feel comfortable with what we're having in the survey, that way, because the surveyor's offering to donate his services, I don't want to have him do it and then redo it if we need to move it, so as long as we can get a good idea of what y'all are.
Well, I think the general consensus, and I don't mean to speak out of turn, but the general consensus of the court is that we're probably okay with relocating from the northwest corner where we're originally talking now to the northeast corner, closely to where you have it laid out, if not where you have it laid out, with the understanding that we need to get a firm survey, but before that survey was conducted, that our project manager for the Justice Center would really need to put eyes on flags to make sure that we're not encroaching or we're out of bounds and things of that sort. But are you, I guess, to keep your process moving, Commissioner, do we want to have an agreement that, or you want to make a motion, we take a vote, that we're okay in swapping from that northwest to the northeast side of that property? Not finalizing anything until we get a survey, but we're not going to get not going to expend your free survey until our project manager, and I don't care if the building committee, Chad or Commissioner Mallett or Commissioner Cox also have eyes on it, and Commissioner Dobianski too, but can't go out there 3 at a time. Or we could do a field trip meeting. We haven't done that in a while. What was this delay of the day?
I mean, I don't have any objection to the general location of where it is. I think we probably need to be a little more specific.
Sure.
I don't necessarily know that I need to, she's got a survey, and I trust Al, I mean, as long as it's in that general vicinity, I'm sure.
I can get with him and we can go out and look at what we have.
The only concern I have, Judge, is not the building placement, is one is where they're joining, where they want to join their driveway and parking lot to the Justice Center.
Understood.
I have not seen that, and I'd like to know where their sewer, where's their power coming from. That's my consensus, not so much where the building is how they're getting their stuff through the Justice Center. I'm available later this evening, once I get some problems done at the jail. I will be over there later, so if you want to stop by, just call me, see where I'm at in my day, and I can get that done pretty quick. But for the placement of the building, them are my three. It's not so much the building, it's the utilities and how it comes in on our building.
Is this something that can wait, or are you trying to get it done today? Is it?
I think we can take no action today, because we've got kind of a game plan of eyes on, but you can tell your donors that the process is moving, okay? And I believe what we've heard, there's definitely a consensus. We're okay to move from point A to point B. We just need to get it correctly situated for point B, get the other questions and get it done.
For the next time I'm before you, then, my understanding is y'all would like to see the survey, and sometime in between then, will work?
No.
together and make that happen?
In my opinion, I just need to go out there and see where your utilities and you're gonna, I'd like to, also include Mr. Walker because he's civil. He's gonna tell
Most of
me.
the time.
No, sir, I didn't say that. I've had to lean on him a few times, so. So the survey don't bother me, I just want to know what the plan is.
Okay.
I think after we get that, your next agenda, you can bring back, and I'm not telling the court how to do it. Let me get some of those questions answered, and you can bring this right back and get it all, and then whatever the survey and all that, and that's up to you. Higher echelon than me.
Do you understand him?
Yes.
Do you understand him?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully you won't be a grandmother by the time we get this done for you.
No, I won't. I'm gonna try somebody else.
All right. That is agenda item number 11. We'll go to agenda item number 12, Road and Bridge. Mr. Harry Walker, consideration of possible action to renew special road use agreement for Blue Jay Solar, attachment number 12. Sorry you had to sit here this long, but look how much you've learned. Mr. Walker.
As you're aware, we have renewed Blue Jay Solar's road use permit twice now on a 30-day basis because of some concerns about the road maintenance out there. And they have been working hard on trying to improve things. They've been struggling with the weather conditions, just like we have. They have submitted a drainage plan now that I think, when implemented, will address the remaining problems. So I'm going to recommend we go ahead and extend their permit for another 30 days until August 25th, which would have been the normal renewal time from the original 90-day permit. And I think hopefully at that point, we'll be able to get back in kind of a normal pattern where we do the 90-day renewals. Any questions or comments? We'd like to try and address them.
Do we want to maybe even extend it to the, because I guess essentially the 25th, we won't have a meeting. I know they were uncomfortable before with the meeting. Could we just put it to maybe their first meeting would be the 8th of August?
Actually,
it's
no,
third,
it'd
it's
be-
first,
it'd
it's
be
first.
the 4th of August, wouldn't it?
First of August.
The 4th and the 18th.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yes, the 4th, I'm sorry. I looked at the wrong one.
August the 4th is a Wednesday.
Well, you said August 5th, 25th, so it'd be, I'm sorry, it'd be
The 30
September
days-
1st.
30 days will take it on August 25th.
Yeah, so could we maybe extend it to, I mean, it doesn't have to be 30, it'd be 30, to August, that'd be September 1st.
September 1st, the first Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
That's, since it's on a meeting, that way it's, you know, I think they were uncomfortable with it at time.
That's fine.
With it being on the for our next.
My thinking on this, we have a meeting, we'll have a meeting on August 18th, when we could issue the.
We can go ahead and renew it then.
At
Okay.
that time, but I'm fine with September.
Yeah, as long as we
1st
put it
also.
on the 18th, I just wanted to make sure we,
Well, that was my thinking.
okay, yeah. We can do that for 30 days.
It's up to you to get it to the agenda for whenever you do it.
I will.
All right.
All right, I move to renew the special road use agreement for Blue Jay Solar for 30 days.
Second.
August 25th.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 12 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Road and Bridge report, please, sir. And we've had it. Any questions for Mr. Walker? How many side booms do we have? Two? Are they both operational?
Yes.
Are they both being manned?
When conditions allow.
Okay.
Not to beat a dead horse, the weather conditions have hampered a lot of our operations.
And it's accelerated the growth.
You don't want to run those tractors in the ditch. Just Jericho right away.
Right.
So shredding has been hampered probably more than the side moving because they can reach out and do that.
Right.
But it just impacted everything we're doing.
Okay.
Just a couple of comments, just to bring you up to date. The appraisal, I met with the appraiser on the Stone property yesterday. They've come out and do their site inspection and everything. They are still on track to have our appraisals for the sale of those two parcels in early to mid-August. The survey work has been done on both parcels. We will be coming before you here, forget which agenda, but shortly, to do the abandonment of the existing road right-of-ways and stone them. And then at that point, that'll allow us to finish up the survey, put together a plat for, or the replat for that property. On the Piedmont property, as we mentioned before, there's an alleyway that separates those two parcels. The city of Navasota has told me they have no objection to closing that alleyway.
Oh.
And 2 of the 3 utility companies have responded and said that they have no facilities in there. So it looks like we're gonna be able to close that, which will make for a more usable piece of property. Of course, that'll have to be reflected, in the final survey, and we will have to go to the city of Navasota to get that completion.
But that'll turn that into a corner property then, if we eliminate that alleyway, correct?
Yes, it'll make a continuous
Right.
piece, as sort of an L-shaped
Right.
piece of property, rather than having 2 separate pieces, separate,
Right.
divided by that alleyway.
Very good.
Elsewhere, as you may have seen in the paper this morning, Entergy is coming in with a large transmission line project in the sort of the southeast corner of the county. Montgomery County, Grimes County, affected Minersville area, Todd Mission area quite a bit. We've received some information from them and are trying to set up some meetings to talk about that. They've got like a 3-page permit application in the paper this morning. That's what that's about. Part of it's related to the 249 project, part of it's just an upgrade to their overall facilities, anticipating future growth.
Are they talking about putting in a substation down there too still?
Yes, the map they had on, in the paper today, calls for a substation off of 1774 in the vicinity of 351.
The guy that retired back in January, February, who was our area rep for them, was telling me about that, and they had reached out to me about if we had any kind of permitting process as far as putting that, because they did have some property picked out. I think it was probably some of Gary Kubiak's property there, right on the northeast side of 240, where 249 comes in. But they were kind of concerned about whether or not that was in a flood zone, and I told them to get with David Lilly to find that out, and I hadn't heard anything since then from them. They do have a new rep here now.
We don't have a permitting process for something like the substation per se. We do have permitting where they want to put utility lines in our existing right-of-ways or across our right-of-ways. Of course, floodplain permitting and some of those general permits would also apply.
Yeah.
But I think it would be warranted for us to go ahead and set up a meeting with them.
Sure.
You'll come in and explain what they're doing and schedule and all that, because it looks like it's going to be a significant impact in that portion of the county. They have also reached out to us. One of the easements they want would be on that Stone Barn property. So they're all over. Hopefully, I'll probably jinx it, but the weatherman cooperates today. We will finally start paving tomorrow.
On what road?
Down in the Tall Pine neighborhood off of 304. 3 or 4 streets there we're gonna do. Finally, at long last.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 13, consider and take action regarding the burn ban and authorize county judge as signatory. I would promote no action. Anything different? Okay. Agenda item 14, receive any updates on the strategic plan? No reports? No action? Agenda item number 15, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 15 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.